Hello and welcome to the Quiet Life Podcast again. I'm Pat Yates. A very exciting episode today. Really high energy guy, Aleric Heck, who's with AdOutreach and also owns a business called Keyword Search that helps you optimize and place your YouTube ads. It's something that I've always wanted to do better, really at all. I just have never leveraged it well enough that video can do good advertising. So it's been it'll be an amazing conversation to hear from him how they do it. His business Keyword Search was built sort of out of a necessity to be able to look at what keywords work with his app strategy. But Aleric himself has 13 years of history working in YouTube ads and ad review with over 500,000 subscribers. He's helped thousands of businesses generate over 200 million in revenue through YouTube ads. This is a really niche type of thing that I think everyone needs to investigate. So I can't wait to hear everything Aleric says about YouTube advertising. So I'm excited to get going. Let's get right to it. Aleric, welcome to the Quiet Life Podcast. It's awesome to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Pat. I'm excited.
Oh, no, I'm excited too. I know you're a big partner of Quiet Lights. You know, Chris and these guys, you've worked with us. We wanted to have you on to just talk something that a lot of people aren't very good at, including present company, being able to do ads on YouTube, which seems like something I should have been able to do many, many years ago, but I didn't know you. So I know we're going to jump into a lot of that stuff, but you have such an incredible view behind you. Tell us all about you, where you're from, and all about the business.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm here at our, office in downtown Austin, Texas. So this was kind of the vision for a long time. We moved here about 2.5 years ago, and we brought in some of our team members that are all around the U.S. We still have a hybrid team, so some people remote, and then we've got people here in the office, which is great. But I'm actually originally from Massachusetts, so the Boston area outside of that, and that's kind of where I'm from. But then moved out here, and this is kind of like the new, almost the new Silicon Valley out in Austin. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of marketers, a lot of startups, a lot of different companies, which is really great. So yeah, I mean, I can dive into a little bit of my background, how I got into the YouTube ad side of things if you want, and then I'm excited to share some strategies.
Absolutely. I love Austin too. I was just there for a mastermind, and a couple of years ago I was there for another thing, and I said, a lot like Nashville, I see more cranes in Austin and Nashville than anywhere in the country. It's really kind of interesting. It is really budding on tech. So yeah, so I know that you have a background in business. You're not all just a YouTube ads guy. So maybe give us a rundown of Aleric and your history and background in business.
Yeah, so I started out with a YouTube channel 14 years ago. So very, very early days of the YouTube platform. It's a channel called AppFind. And it still exists today. I've got somebody out actually in San Francisco that is full-time employee. They run the channel. They create all the different videos and content and all of that. But basically, started out with that YouTube channel back 14 years ago, just reviewing mobile apps, tech tutorials, teaching people how to use their iPhone. The very early days of tech channels on YouTube, and that really got popular by teaching people how to use their phone for the first time. So I had a series called The Complete Beginner's Guide that still, exists to this day. I just have somebody else who does it now. It used to be, me in the past. I would get behind my camera, I'd hold the phone, and I did what other people didn't do, which is I would do an hour-long video just teaching people how to use their iPhone for the first time. And that type of video really took off because, people weren't really doing that. And so I was just releasing it for free on YouTube. Millions of people ended up watching these videos. Channel grew to 500,000 subscribers, started getting all these sponsorships. And that was kind of my first business that I built out was AppFind. And, and throughout this time, I was actually using that, going into college and using that to fund, my college and all that stuff. And I ended up hiring some of my, fellow students were the first people that worked for me. And I, kind of built up the team. I read 4-Hour Workweek. I pulled myself out of the business. And like a lot of people that are probably listening to the podcast, like I'm sure yourself, when I pulled myself out of the business, I didn't want to just sit on the beach. I wanted to build another business. So I want to free up my time to build the next business. And that's where I got into YouTube ads. I had started experimenting a little bit with YouTube ads. I had some sponsors that had sponsored me on the channel. They wanted to get the video out in front of more people, started running some YouTube ads, for some of my videos. And about 8 years ago, I was able to really kind of crack the code on YouTube for mobile apps, YouTube ads for mobile apps, which were some of the sponsors I was working at the time. So I ended up doing that first, drove millions of downloads. Then I discovered ClickFunnels and HubSpot at a conference, and I started to realize there was a lot more to marketing on than just apps. And so I started to expand and work with different companies, and and then actually train businesses on how to do YouTube ads as well, which really helped our rise and helped us grow, because we were able to support and train a wide variety of different companies in YouTube ads, including Quiet Light as well, and working with Chris and the team. And so that's kind of brings us to today. And I can talk a little bit about keyword search. I built the software along the way as well. Actually, I can tell you the story about it too. I tried to acquire. I went to a few different people, and didn't at that time. I wasn't as didn't know who to call, so I ended up building it myself. But I basically built out a software as well as support the clients too.
It's really incredible. So you've done very little as an entrepreneur, it seems. And what's funny about this? It's weird because the YouTube thing has sort of a different life now too with YouTube TV. It's like even 5 to 7 years ago, YouTube advertising was a lot different than it is now, isn't it? Or maybe I don't know that well enough. So tell us, that's what I'm kind of curious about. How did the evolution of YouTube become so good as far as monetizing it? Because I don't think it used to be like that, unless I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It used to be very different. So when I first started running YouTube ads, they actually did not have a lead-based algorithm. And many people don't know this. And people that started getting into YouTube ads more recently, they don't necessarily know the history that back 7, 8 years ago, people laughed when I said I was running YouTube ads for direct response to drive direct either app downloads, sales for an e-commerce product, or leads for, maybe an expert business, coach, consultant, that type of thing. When we were doing that, or SaaS or whatever it happens to be. But basically, I had people actually kind of laughing at me and saying, oh, I didn't think YouTube could do that, because at the time, it wasn't technically designed to optimize for leads. You had to optimize it yourself. It was all CPV ads, so cost per view. So you're essentially paying for every 30-second view or click that the video is getting. And this was, again, years ago. And so one of the reasons I think that I got so good at YouTube ads and can really train people in how YouTube ads are now, we'll talk about the evolution, because there's been a couple more big evolutions, one of which happened last year with YouTube. But I think one of the reasons I got so good at that, and also, some of the people that I brought on the team with me, around that point, is because we learned and really cut our teeth before the algorithm, right? Yeah. And so essentially what we had to do is create a campaign and then do kind of, the old school media buying of saying, I want to run ads in front of these videos or in front of these keywords. And then it wasn't automatically optimizing at that time. Now it does. And we'll talk about that. So I don't want to dissuade anybody, but at that time, we'd have to go in and say, okay, this keyword got this many conversions. Let's keep that on or scale it up. This keyword or this video didn't get many conversions. Let's cut it. And we had to do the work that now the algorithm does for you. And so by doing that, that gave me an understanding of what the algorithm is doing today, which allows us to kind of better train the algorithm and tailor the algorithm. But back then it was a totally different platform. It was all CPV. And because of that, most of the companies advertising on YouTube were branding companies. They were Geico, Ford, big, companies that were just running ads to get views. Whereas what I was able to pioneer and now is more mainstream is running direct response ads, where you're running an ad to get a lead or get a sale or get somebody to sign up for a platform, whatever it happens to be. We're actually running a direct response ad. And so that kind of iteration happened over time. And I can get to that in a second, but it's kind of crazy to think about. Like back then it was just the cost per view.
Yeah, just throw it out there and hope that it hits. But now there's so many more metrics and so many more ways to reach customers. It's really incredible. I mentioned something earlier I'm just curious about. The more that I looked at, like I'm a big football fan. So I watched the NFL Sunday Ticket switch over to YouTube TV. And I started thinking, well, I have slippers and I have an NFL license. And how could I maybe leverage that utilizing YouTube TV? Have you guys stepped into that? Because I don't know if that's really different than on platform versus on TV. So give me a little bit of an idea of that, because I'm super curious about that side.
Yeah. So there's ways to run ads, YouTube TV and YouTube itself by running through the Google Ads platform, TV-based ads. So you can actually include TV in those campaigns. And they actually have the connected TV. I don't know if you've seen this. but the ability for if somebody's watching an ad and they like what they see, they like the slippers, what they can do is they can have on their phone, they can click a little button on the remote that says just send to my phone. And then it'll send that link to the ability to go and buy those slippers to the phone, and then they can go in and purchase. And so I actually think they're really innovating, when it comes to those types of TV ads. And essentially, that's not going to work it's not going to be the main strategy for everybody. But for something like what you're doing with slippers, right? It was mass market. You've got this e-commerce product, instead of advertising just on, traditional TV, you have an opportunity to advertise, in front of, NFL and some of the football games. And then also have the ability for people not just to watch it and see the branding and then look it up themselves, but you have that connected TV ability for people just to click a button on their remote and it to send over the URL to their phone. We also recommend, if you're running more TV ads, to put a QR code potentially up there too, because we found that that's going to help drive a little bit more people. They'll pull up their phone, they'll scan the QR code as well. But that's another way that YouTube's just innovating. And kind of to catch up there too, is like they then rolled out their lead algorithm. So then you can optimize for leads, right? And then they're added in YouTube TV, and they added in, with the most recent iteration. So the kind of the, 5-6 years ago, they rolled out more lead-based ads. So now you could optimize, you could say, hey, I want to get conversions, and then Google would optimize automatically. And then over the last year, they've rolled out even more targeting options with what are called video action campaigns that include things like those connected TV, that include, YouTube partner, different websites and channels and apps that are all kind of interconnected.
It's really incredible. So again, I'm with Aleric Heck with AdOutreach and keyword search. I have a question though. Do you all have like a wheelhouse type of client? Typically you would think e-com, but it could be, content businesses or anyone that provides services. I mean, what's the best kind of client to be advertising on YouTube?
That's a great question. And I think that there's also a couple of different answers to that. So we have a wheelhouse client, but I can also explain the different types of businesses that see a lot of success on YouTube. So we work with a lot of expert-based businesses, coaches, consultants, course creators, people who have information products, or people who have these either, lead-based businesses, kind of like, whether it be, Quiet Light trying to get like leads, things like that, that have that higher value on the back end. We really specialize in that because there's an education component to YouTube. So people are going on YouTube to learn. And what we can do is if somebody's an expert or they have a business that's a high-end service, what we can do is we can get them in front of those people that are going on YouTube and they're figuring out, okay, how do I buy a business? Like, what do I do with that? Or how do I learn YouTube ads? Or how do I do this or that? How do I lose weight? Whatever it happens to be. And then you get those ads in front of people who have recently made that search on YouTube or on Google, or they've gone to specific sites. And so we can run and target ads in front of people and then get them to take action off of that, generate that lead, and then get that higher end conversion. We really specialize in those education-based ads. And that's why we've got a lot of these, businesses that are coaches, consultants, course creators, experts, information, and high-end services or high-end SaaS. On the other side, there is a lot of benefit with e-commerce. That's less our main wheelhouse. However, we've worked with a bunch of e-commerce companies, and there is a big opportunity with e-commerce to be able to go and reach people on YouTube and educate them on products. And so essentially, what you want to do is you just want to make sure, though, that you have a high enough AOV to make sure that YouTube isn't overkill for those types of products. So if it's a very low end or low margin product, then you might get a better opportunity by going after lower CPMs, possibly on other platforms. But on YouTube, if you have a product that has that strong AOV, has strong margins, then YouTube's a big opportunity for you because you're going to be able to go and target people that might be looking up the best slippers. They might be looking up, charging stands or whatever it happens to.
That's really amazing. So again, let's talk a little bit about AdOutreach. That's easy for me to say clearly. It's not even a tongue twister and I messed it up. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so let's talk about clients coming in. So maybe this small business is a little intimidated on spending money to create a video and then be able to market it and have all that. Tell us a little bit about what it looks like to come in and work with AdOutreach. Maybe someone has never done anything like this and they're completely green. How do you guide them?
Yeah, so we help them every single step of the way. And what we want to do is have a done together process that we found works really well because out there's kind of this kind of false dichotomy that people choose from is, either a course where they're trying to do everything themselves, they don't really have support, or they, hire an agency, but then it's kind of siloed, right? So you've got kind of the agency over here, and then you're going over here, and you don't necessarily know everything that they're doing, what's kind of behind the curtain. You're not really installing it as an asset in your business. Now, we do have some clients that we work with on a high level, that have that are kind of similar to an agency. We call it a fractional media buyer, where we have a media buyer that works closely with them hands-on to run their ads. But that's kind of some of our, higher tier clients. With the general clients that we're training them on YouTube ads. We have a done together process that we found just works the best, because we're helping them set up the campaigns, but also empowering them to know how to run it long-term internally. And so what we want to do, when we start off, the first step is actually making sure that they have a YouTube ad script that is designed to convert. So we're going to go in, we're going to have our copywriters work with them to help actually map out a script. So we're going to meet with them. We're going to understand their business. Who is their ideal customer? Who are they looking to reach? And then from there, we're going to have our expert copywriters have literally written thousands of these scripts, between them. They're going to go through and actually write out that script for that client and then go back and forth on it. So we want to have that hook, draws people in, educate, and want to provide value inside of the video. That's a very big key on YouTube, is actually providing value, because people are on YouTube to receive value. So they want to learn, okay, why are these the best slippers? Why is this the best business to or company to work with to acquire a business? Or even what are some of the problems or challenges that people face acquiring a business and how they can solve them with something like Quiet Light, right? And so you want to educate them and then have a clear call to action at the end to get them to go and take action and sign up, become a lead, whatever that, purchase, whatever that next step is. And so it's that hook, educate, call to action. The first step, we really dive in and we help them refine and map out that YouTube ads script. Once we do that, the next step is really making sure that their funnel is set up the right way. It's optimized for YouTube, all the code, all the tracking, all that's in the right place. This isn't the most exciting part of the process, but it's very important, because we want to make sure when we start running these ads that they're going to a place that they're going to be able to drive conversions. We found there's a few key things driving off of YouTube. If you're sending people somewhere, typically we do like to have, if there's like training that they might be going to, a free training that they're signing up for, or if it's a product, right? There's certain things we want to do. We want to make sure it might be a specific product page as opposed to the whole site, so that, it's kind of more of a funnel that directs them to purchase. We really want to just make sure that their funnel is set up the right way in order for people to convert, and then we'll help consult them on that. Then from there, we're helping them target the right people. And this is actually where we pull in our software keyword search as AI ad targeting. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but basically just describe their business, and it generates all the different audiences, all the different targeting that they can use. And they just choose, okay, here I want to, target people who have looked up this keyword or this search term, people who have gone to these sites. They click on that, and then in one click, they can sync it over to Google. And so we're training them and helping them use the software to target the right people on YouTube. We're helping them set up their campaigns hands-on, and we're really going and helping them get ready to launch. And then once they launch, what we want to do is help them optimize, scale, and continue to support them. And that's where we're empowering them. So a lot of this is kind of hands-on, helping them get to that launch stage. Once they're launched, we want to be a resource to help them know how to be able to scale without, being the ones that are necessarily doing it all for them, because we want to make sure that they have this as an asset and a skill in their business. So we want to train them on what to look for, how to optimize, how to scale, and really how to see that growth over time. And that's kind of the process that we take people through, on AdOutreach. Of course, there's some more elements, kind of baked in there. We help people with their YouTube channels organically, things like that too. But that's kind of the main core.
It's really incredible. So we talked a little bit before the podcast about Keyword Search, a company that you started sort of out of necessity, and it actually sort of is a means to an end in your advertising business. So tell us how that ties in and how clients can benefit from that.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, what I saw is we were doing this really long manual process to do all this keyword research and audience research for YouTube ads. And so part of YouTube ads is, of course, you got to create the right video, but then you got to target the right people. And there's these different audience segments that you can create based on search terms people have looked up on YouTube and on Google recently, websites they might have an MO for, in-market audiences, just ways to describe that person. That's kind of similar to interests on Facebook and other platforms. So essentially, there's a few different ways to build these segments. But what you'd normally have to do is do research, especially if you're looking up what people are searching for. You'd have to do research and follow this kind of longer process. And there were these old kind of keyword tools that were out there that did a little bit of it, and they helped the process. So you would do some keyword research, you'd find what people are searching for on YouTube, for instance, and then you'd go and build this into the audience segment. But I had a vision for how this could be even better, how you could do the whole process. It could do all the research and then in a few clicks sync the audiences. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to go out and acquire one of these companies. And by the way, this was like 3+ years ago. So before got connected with Chris and you guys over at Quiet Lights, otherwise I would know who to call. But at that time, I was actually just reaching out directly to these companies, some of which I was referring people towards, and they all said, not for sale, not for sale. Or you could be a minority investor, but like, we're not going to change our business model. We're not going to like let you be acquire the company, right? Or the majority of the company. And so ultimately, I then got connected with a really great developer here in Austin. So 3 years ago, I was kind of trying that process. About 2.5 years ago, when I moved to Austin, I got connected to Greg Kapilitsov, who is our CTO for keyword search. Essentially, I was explaining, here's what I'm looking to do. Here's what it looks like. And he had worked with Proof, and which kind of merged into Jasper, and he knew those people over there. They're also here in Austin, like the AI one of the AI copywriting companies, Jasper and all that. And so I was kind of connected through them. And so Greg and I started jamming. We realized like, hey, there's a big opportunity for us to go and build out keyword search. And so we partnered together. We created the software. And we started by building, something similar to what existed already, which was YouTube keyword research. Then the version 2.0, which we launched about a year and about a year ago now, that's when everything came together. Now, what it does is it uses AI. So we built in, OpenAI, some of these different elements on top of the algorithm we already created to find these YouTube keywords, where people just go to the site, keywordsearch.com, they put in their business, so you put in like Quiet Light, you put in the website URL, you describe the business, how it helps you, acquire different businesses, some of the USP elements, you click generate, and it will give you within just a minute or two all of the different in-market audiences. So people in the, looking to acquire businesses, people looking to do X, Y, and Z. You click on those, you can sync it to Google Ads as an in-market custom audience. It'll give you all the search terms people are looking for, URLs, apps they might have on their phone, YouTube videos or channels they might be watching. You just select those, and in one click, you sync it to Google, and it actually builds the entire audience for you inside of Google Ads, so you could target the right people. And so that's kind of the software that we created, and now it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and is kind of scaling from there. So.
That's exciting. I think that it's so amazing that you actually developed something not only that the user can use to benefit their own business, but you also use it provided they wanted to come in and work with you. A lot of people may not want to do that necessarily. So tell us a little bit about, if people are coming in to test with you, let's say that they come in for YouTube, you don't always know the answer immediately, but is there do you go through A/B testing? Do you have multiple things that you try with a client? How do you figure out the right path without stumbling over so many times?
I love it. And that's exactly what we have. We have a proven process for this. So what we want to do is we want to launch split tests right from the beginning and then narrow down based on what works. We call it the bullseye, optimization strategy. So we've got two big strategies that I can cover here with this: the bullseye optimization strategy and then the tree scaling strategy. And so I can kind of blend them into each other. So it starts with bullseye optimization. What we want to do is it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. You know where the dartboard is, right? Because we've done this so many times. The clients that are working with us, we know this is where the dartboard is, but we don't necessarily know exactly where a bullseye is until we start testing. So we can throw darts at this board based on our best knowledge, and then we're going to be able to see where does this land based on that trajectory and how you throw it. And so what we want to do is we want to create multiple variations. We want to create multiple variations of the video. Now, I talked about how it's hook, educate, call to action. What we found is the vast majority of the importance of the different variations of videos is all the hook. It's all the beginning. How is this beginning a little bit different? And so we want to test multiple different hooks at the beginning of the video. So usually 5 or 6 of these. So hook, educate, call to action. Educate and the call to action can be the same. The hook is what people watch or don't watch at the beginning. Now, sometimes we will test educate, call to action later on just for clarity. But essentially, we can create 5, 6 different variations. Now we have these different versions of the video. And now we want to test multiple campaigns and multiple audiences. So we'll create a campaign that has all of these different search intent. So based on what people are searching for on YouTube and Google. So we'll create a campaign that has a variety of different types of audiences based on that. Keyword search will do all the research for you, and it'll actually give you collections of keywords. It might have keywords around acquiring businesses, and then a bunch of different search terms that people might be looking up around acquiring businesses. You can select those, sync those to an audience. But then there might be another section that talks about, let's just say, ways to business growth through acquisition, right? Related, but different. And so that could be another audience with a bunch of different search terms around that. And by the way, the software, because it uses AI, it'll find all the keywords and also group them all together the right way. And so then you can just sync those as an audience. And so now you've got, let's say, 5 audiences in that campaign with 5 different videos. And then you might have, 3 or 4 different campaigns. You have another campaign that is only based on in-market audiences. So now you have a few audiences that are people who are interested in business acquisition or people interested in this. You might have a campaign that has URL affinities, so based on websites people are on in the past, and you could put all that in too. And so what we would then do is use the bullseye optimization strategy. It's like when we throw darts at a dartboard. What doesn't land, what lands, obviously, if it's outside of the board completely, then it's like, all right, maybe that's a campaign we're going to turn off. But if it's kind of on the outer rim, we can figure out, okay, what part of this, what audiences or what videos are working? How can we optimize this to get it to a bullseye? Sometimes you'll hit a bullseye right off the bat, and then that's what you just want to keep, repeating and scaling up. But oftentimes you'll kind of land somewhere, near that bullseye, and you just need to make a few tweaks. Maybe turn off a video here, turn off an audience there, and then find which ones are working the best, and then scale those up, and then you can repeat that again and again. So that's kind of the bullseye optimization strategy.
That makes incredible sense. I think that it's interesting to me that not only are you able to dissect the best things that people need as far as keywords, you have the ability to implement it via those things. So you have 2 different companies, obviously, and I think some of the research you do, but is it seamless to work with both sides to get those things and then roll in and start working with AdOutreach? Tell us a little bit about your plans so people kind of understand the scope of what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So they work hand in hand together. And what we're able to do, because we have the 2 different companies, is, AdOutreach is really based around helping train and consult businesses on YouTube ads, helping them implement that, helping them hands-on step-by-step. That's also the bigger company. So we've got about 35 team members, and a bunch of them are here in our offices in Austin, and then we've got some spread out across the country. But that's like our big, main business. That's the one that we scale, Inc. 5000, number 60, like all that stuff. And so that's kind of the big, base company. And then, of course, keyword search, that's a company that we're, quickly scaling. And it's a software. It's a little bit different. And so with that company, what we do is when people come in through AdOutreach, we're going to give them access to start using keyword search, start utilizing that. Now, because we're talking about this on, this type of podcast, I'll get into a little bit of the specifics in terms of what we had to do is figure out what's going to be the sweet spot balance between having AdOutreach and keyword search promote each other, but also separate. And so essentially with AdOutreach, because keyword search is so valuable, what we want to do is we want to really make sure that our clients are able to utilize that. And we want to make sure that they can utilize that without necessarily like long-term, without needing to pay extra, but also as they want to use it and they see the benefit, they can stay with it. And so what we've created is there are 2 different companies, AdOutreach and keyword search. When people start with a consulting or coaching package on AdOutreach, they get a month of unlimited access to keyword search included. And we give that to them for free as an AdOutreach client. And so they can dive in and they can fully utilize keyword search and they see how impactful and valuable it is. And that's what they need to do to actually get those campaigns kicked off. That said, what they're going to experience is how easy and powerful it is. So they're not going to want to lose access to keyword search. There's also more features beyond just the ad targeting and that side of things that we've rolled out as well, like YouTube ad spying, so they can see what competitors' YouTube ads are doing. They could also do more research on the organic side to see what trending search terms are happening on YouTube, so they can get ahead of trends, for instance. And so what we want to do, and there's also some more YouTube channel growth Copilot features that we're adding very soon, which is exciting. But what we do is we show them, you're not going to want to really run ads without keyword search. We're going to give you unlimited access for a month as part of our program. But then after that, it'll just auto renew unless they cancel after that month at whatever plan or tier they choose. And keyword search has, $97 to $297 a month pricing based on the plan and kind of the bells and whistles that they want included in it. So it's essentially, and that's worked really well. It's a great win-win-win for everybody, because keyword search essentially gets that kind of constant stream of new clients coming in.
Sure.
Through ad outreach. But then ad outreach, clients, they get or ad outreach, is able to give a month of the software, and then the clients get a great experience because they get, a month included. They see how valuable it is, and then they can continue as they want to use it. And so that's kind of what we've found works really well.
That's really awesome. So again, we're with Aleric Heck with Ad Outreach and Keyword Search. Man, you've got some really amazing stuff going on, and it's been a amazingly educational podcast so far. Are there other things that you think the listeners would want to know about Ad Outreach or anything? I think we covered a lot, but are there other things? And tell them how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So there's one more thing I alluded to. So I want to close the loop on that, which is the tree scaling strategy. And then I'll talk about, I've got a free gift for everybody and how they can get a hold of us. So the tree scaling strategy, once you do that optimization strategy, the bullseye optimization strategy, the tree scaling strategy is how you scale up from there. So let's say you narrow it down. You got one campaign that's doing really well. Well, the big mistake that people make is they treat that campaign like a balloon, right? They're like, this campaign's great. It's getting a great return on ad spend. Let's just pump it full of money. It's like blowing up a balloon, right? Like they fill it up more and more and more and more. And what happens to a balloon? We fill it up with too much air. Well, it pops. And so what we want to do instead of that is we want to scale it like a tree. So we want to take that campaign and treat it, like that seedling that's we're going to, water it. We're going to take care of it. We're going to nurture it. We're not going to try to have it grow too fast, although we do want it to grow. So we're going to help that campaign grow, and we're going to scale it up. But now that becomes the trunk and a base of the tree. And then we're going to create 3 variations off of that campaign. So we want to duplicate that campaign and then just change one thing about each variation so we can create these branches. It's like a family tree of ad campaigns. And so we create a slightly different audience or a slightly different video or slightly different, demographics or whatever it happens to be. And then that becomes another branch. Let's say one of them doesn't work, it falls off, that's fine. We have 2 solid branches that then scale up those campaigns, right? And those ones work really well. And then we create more branches and more branches. So now you have an interconnected family tree of ad campaigns. Instead of just having one campaign, you try and really scale up or have all your eggs in one basket. You now have a connected family tree of ad campaigns that's going to make it more sustainable and also help you scale, much more efficiently long term. And so that's a tree scaling strategy.
That's absolutely awesome. So start to finish, they can pretty much come in and figure out how to do that digital YouTube ad placement and figure out exactly how to do the keyword research and everything. But that's absolutely awesome. There's so many facets of the business. I'd encourage people to come. I mean, you have a free trial, obviously, to talk or an analysis. How do they do that? If they want to come down to Outreach and just sort of kick tires and understand what they have, what kind of program do you have for that?
Yeah, so the best thing that we'd recommend is a full complimentary, 45-minute strategy call. We'll be able to dive in, really understand their business, and then map out a full game plan for YouTube ads. We'll talk about the software, talk about how we can consult them, help them, and really map out that game plan. And so you can go to AdOutreach.com/apply. That's AdOutreach.com/APPLY, AdOutreach.com/apply. And you could book that strategy call to really map out what this looks like. I also do want to give a gift to everybody away as well. And again, the strategy call is be a great place to actually talk with our team, one of our top advisors, to map out the game plan and strategy here. But in addition to that, I also want to give a gift to everybody. I've got a 19-page YouTube ad PDF, walks you through step by step what we talked about today, so you could follow along a little bit more in depth. And you can go to AdOutreach.com/gift, AdOutreach.com/gift. And that's my gift to you, full 19-page YouTube ads PDF, and it walks you through the whole game plan and strategy. And then, of course, keywordsearch.com, that is the software, and there's a 5-day free trial in there. But of course, if you're interested in really diving in, if you book a strategy call, we can see and map out how we can get you onboarded and really walk you through the whole process.
That's absolutely amazing stuff. And we'll make sure those links are on here with the podcast. But again, Aleric, we really appreciate you coming to the Quiet Life podcast. Tell everyone how they can get in touch with you and maybe, outreach on social and things.
Awesome. Perfect. So you can find me on basically every social media platform, Aleric Heck. And you can look me up, over on YouTube. I'm constantly posting high value content. We actually have a really great, tutorial video we're posting today, which probably will be a little bit, once people go and listen to this. But you can go to Aleric Heck on YouTube. You can also follow me on, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm also on TikTok, Twitter. Although YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, probably more primary platforms. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter, which is the Marketing Minds newsletter, by going to adoutreach.beehive.com, which you can subscribe to as well.
That's absolutely amazing. We'll make sure those links are out there. And people, if you have any, I think a lot of times it's important to just take that step to learn more about something. If you're worried about whether or not you know how to do YouTube ads or anything like that, reach out. That's why Aleric's here. A lot of our listeners who are building businesses, buying businesses, there's ways to scale them. And this guy obviously is energetic. He'll talk your ear off, obviously, a lot like me. I talk a lot like you, Aleric. We talk a lot, and we're very loud, and we like to help people, and it's a lot of fun. But I really appreciate you being in the Quiet Life podcast today. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much, Pat. Appreciate it.